Welcome to the Strategic Coaching Moments. This is a consultation episode that I think is going to be helpful to some people because depending on what stage you're in, and this is strictly dedicated to people before they've actually started their business, they're still in the business idea stage or very early stage where they haven't really taken a lot of action. There are people that find themselves in those positions and their ask is more than they think that it is, and they are also sending out red flags. So I want to walk you through a situation that I had recently and kind of provide context for how it's perceived when you're talking to someone that's an expert and you're asking for the help. So I recently had someone reach out to me. He said he found me on Google and he was seeking out brand advice. And as we started to have the conversation, I said, okay, well, tell me about your business. And he said, well, I want to start a clothing and a jewelry brand. So I started asking questions, but really my questions weren't so much about the business idea. It was listening for the signals. And one thing that stood out to me immediately was he was calling me while he was walking down the street. I could hear cars passing, background noise changing. I could hear him moving from block to block. And that moment told me something important, not about the business, but about the stage he was in. Here's the interesting part. He was asking about branding, but within a few minutes, he started talking about agencies, models. He didn't have a social media account or profiles. He hadn't done any audience research, and he hadn't validated the business idea. He hadn't even checked if the brand name was available. So what he actually had was an idea, not a business yet. Now, here's something most early founders don't realize. When you talk to an expert, they aren't just listening to your questions, they're reading your signals. And the environment you're in during the conversation is one of those signals. When someone finally reaches an expert and stays walking in the street and doesn't grab a notebook, doesn't slow down to capture the advice, it tells the expert something immediately. Not that the person is lazy, but that they don't yet understand the value of the moment that they're in. They don't necessarily understand the value of the person that they're speaking with because that person is giving them game for free as opposed to charging them. During the call, I explained several things that would normally cost hundreds of dollars in consulting. Things like validating the business idea, researching the audience, checking brand availability. And while I'm explaining these things, I'm realizing something. He's not writing anything down. Instead, what he kept saying is, well, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to call you. And once I get these things done, then I'll call you and then we can move on to the next step. So he was trying to set up coaching services without actually paying for the coaching services. So I stopped the call and I told him something important. This conversation is a one-time thing. If you want to continue this discussion later, you can email me what you've done and we can evaluate that. But this isn't something where every time you get a bright idea, you're just going to call me and I'm going to stop what I'm doing because I've got paying customers that I have to be able to see to. And when I'm not seeing the paying customers, I'm seeing to my own business. So this is where the value starts to kick in. This is where understanding the situation kicks in. He found someone that actually cared enough to stop what they were doing to be able to walk him through some things that if he called someone else, they would most likely charge him for, or it would take him a long time to be able to work through how to prioritize whatever AI was going to tell him. And part of my conversation with him was in realizing that he was saying things like, oh, well, I want to trademark my name. Why would you trademark your name when you haven't even settled on the name or validated that that's a business name that you can actually use? If you haven't officially set up your business name, then how do you know that's going to be something that you can build your LLC or whatever way that you choose to be able to set that business up around? How do you know you're going to be able to have the domain for it? You're going to end up paying for something and then realizing that it's not something that you can use the way that you thought you were going to use. So here's the truth most early founders don't hear. Access to expertise is rare. And when you finally get someone who's willing to explain these things honestly, that moment matters. Experts notice when someone takes notes, they slows down, and they ask thoughtful follow-up questions. Those signals tell us something. This person might actually do something with the advice that I'm giving them. And that's when you get someone that's actually going to take time to not just give you best practices, but give you actual steps and solutions to solve some of the challenge, struggles, and problems that you may be facing coming up, not just the one that you're currently in. And when those signals show up, the conversation changes. So here's something to notice. The next time you reach out for some advice, ask yourself this question. Did you create the kind of environment that shows the person that you're ready to learn? Or did you treat the moment like a casual conversation? Because sometimes the difference between getting help once and building real professional relationship starts with something as simple as bringing a notebook. Let that sink in.